Hello, everybody. My name is Lane Kawaoka. We're going to be talking about building a passive rental portfolio while working a full-time W-2 employee job. My podcast is simplepassivecashflow.com, found on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play. And today I own over $250 million of real estate and over 3,500 units, most of which are apartment buildings in Gulfport, Mississippi, Iowa, San Antonio, Houston, and a lot of the southeast markets is what I like. But let's get this out of the way. It's a different world out there post-COVID. And we've seen how we want to be getting out of the traditional investments. There's the S&P up and down roller coaster. And, some of us felt like this, the old Sonic the Hedgehog. When you get hit, all your coins go flying. This is why I like real estate. Volatility is relatively low, but the returns are as high. More background on myself. I'm a professional engineer. I got a bachelor's in industrial engineering, master's in civil engineering. I went to work after I graduated college back in 2007. I was a construction supervisor and progressed through my career. Got to finally work in an office after a while working in the field. And recently, last year, I retired from working my day job as an engineer. It was really never my passion. I grew up in Hawaii in 2003 and moved to Seattle to go to University of Washington. I was a good little kid and bought a place to live in, but because I was never there, because I was traveling for work all the time, I decided to rent it out. So that was an A-class rental in an A market. That was Seattle. It was $350,000 renting for $2,200 a month, and $2,200 a month minus $1,600 PITI, or the mortgage payment. That was a lot of beer money to a young 20-year-old something kid. And I realized right there that I needed to rinse, wash, repeat, and do it again and again. In 2012, I went out of state for cash flow. I started to realize that most sophisticated investors are investing for cash flow, not in primary markets like California, Seattle, Hawaii, New York, Boston, and they're going to less known markets like Birmingham, Atlanta, Indianapolis, and Pennsylvania, where I picked up my rental properties. Throughout this time, I invested a lot of my money into education, and in 2016, I kind of crossed this crossover point, is what I call it, where my motivation at work went way down because my cash flow was pretty much almost exceeding what I was making from a day job, and I was doing very little to achieve that. A little bit more personal stuff about me. Part of my claim to fame, getting up to those first few properties, and certainly to my first 11 properties, was I'm a cheapo. A lot of I never ate ramen noodles, but essentially I'm one of those guys who lives really frugally and cheaply. Definitely has changed these days. Try and spend my money for things I enjoy. But here's how I did it. Year one, what I did is I basically this is called a Sankey diagram. So great way to communicate what you guys are doing to your skeptic spouse who thinks you're going too far off the rails, investing in non-traditional stocks and mutual funds. But I bought a rental property there in year one, and that led to a few $100s of extra cash flow a month. Nothing too exciting, but once you pile this stuff up year after year, year two, you pick up another rental. Year three, you pick up another rental. Mind you, I was able to save probably about $30,000 to $50,000 a year. A single guy, low expenses, living frugally with a decent professional wage. And I just let this build up over time. And here's the secret to this all. It's all about the delta between how much money you make and how much you save. That's the difference. And that little wedge, which I call the pizza right there, that's the secret. If you can put that pizza or that wedge to more and more assets that greatly expand that wedge, at some point you're going to be financially free. And I think for a lot of folks that are making over $100,000 a year and able to save decent money, that can be in under a decade. So just kind of following my timeline, just picking up a rental every year. And then I slowly went into syndication deals, because after a while you start to realize that these rental properties, they're not quite scalable. I got up to 11 properties, and I was having an eviction or two every year, and some kind of big catastrophe that happened every quarter, which is no problem because I have professional property management to do all my dirty work for me. But you could imagine when you have 30 rentals, and at a few $100s per rental, To hit your goal of $10,000 passive income a month, you're gonna need 30 of these rentals. And then so take my numbers and multiply by 3, and you quickly realize how these things aren't scalable. But I believe rental properties is a prerequisite in terms of scaling your knowledge base and building your network of other passive investors to mastermind with and get access to better deals. So this is sort of the progression, and yeah, quit my day job, right? I don't have to wake up to go drive to work and waste all my time. So mind you, the type of real estate investing I do, you need money to do it. I mean, investing, you need money to do it. If not, you have a money problem. I don't do any of this active investing here on the left side. I stay more towards the passive investing side. And even under the umbrella of the passive investing spectrum, there's a lot of things you can invest in. Private money lending, which I don't really like because I don't get the tax benefits there. We're going to be talking about a lot about rental properties today and syndications, and there's commercial triple net deals and all kinds of things on the passive side. And basically comes down to what's your competitive advantage. And when I have consults with new investors, which you guys are welcome to book a call with me after checking out the podcast a little bit, is I'm trying to ascertain where you are in terms of your time, money, knowledge, and network. Where is it your highest and best use for your time? And do you have money to invest? So I'm going to go rapid fire into, I pulled a lot of these sections out of my e-course, and just to kind of good topics to go through. So first question that always comes out is, what market do I invest in? And there's 20,000 cities out there in the United States. How do I always come to the same, couple dozen markets like Birmingham, Atlanta, Indianapolis, Kansas City? You can read them up there. Why did I pick those markets? So first, let's define property classes. There's A, B, and C. So your A class are your new properties. These are built after the year 2000. They are the high end. The class B are the 10 to 15-year-old properties. These are probably about the 1990s, 1980s. Class C is like the 1960s, 1970s. Class Ds are, kind of pieces of junk they're going to fall down any day or so. So we as investors, everybody has their little different investment philosophy. But me personally, I try and stay in the sweet spot of C and B class properties. Switching up things, now you're grading neighborhood classes. So A class are the nice areas to live in. Class B are the middle class part of town, blue and white collar mix. Class C gets a little rough. And Class D, we call these ward zone properties where I don't want to invest in. Normally, we stay around B and A class areas. We try and buy worse off properties, maybe older properties, but we can do something about that. Whereas a neighborhood, you can't really do much to. Here's kind of the fundamentals here. In times of a recession, people will move backwards. So the people in the luxury homes will move to the Bs move to the Cs, and the Cs will move to the Ds. And this figure right here, taken out of Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, pretty much sums it all up. So there's a lot of things you can look at. Main things I pick up are population growth and job growth, which you can pick up from citydata.com. You definitely want to be investing with the trend. I look at median household incomes and medium contract rent. I'm trying to pick up a tenant that's paying anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month, which for some of us that live in California or Seattle or high price markets, that's crazy, right? But most of America, you can live in a pretty decent house for about $100,000. You're gonna need to build your team. I can help out with building up your Rolodex based on, a lot of the big key points is working with referrals, building your network. How to start, you're gonna need a typical 20% down payment. So that's about $20,000 on a $100,000 house. And that's really all you need to get going. Here's the simple process here. You guys can watch the replay later. But, I'm a big numbers guy, being an engineer. Here is my screenshot of my analyzer. You guys can get this for free. Shoot me an email at lane@simplepassivecashflow.com or check it out on my website. But, I would say, run deals through here. See how they look. See how the numbers work. How much cash do you need? You're gonna need a 20% down payment to get a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac government-backed loan. And sometimes the numbers can get a little overwhelming, but the big ones that we look at is the rent to value ratio, which is the monthly gross rent divided by the purchase price. And we're trying to look for something 1% or higher. Another good rule of thumb is the 50% rule, which is a conservative estimate of expenses on the income generated. So for example, you have $1,000 a month rent. We assume that $500 is going to the insurance, or it's going to the repairs, maintenance, CapEx, then the leftover should pay our mortgage, insurance, and taxes. So here's a big mistake that a lot of investors will make. They'll say, well, I'm bringing in $1,000 with a $500 mortgage, insurance, and taxes. No, you're not cash flowing $500 a month. Using the 50% rule, you're breaking even, $0. And here's a typical home that we're buying, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, B minus, nothing special. A lot of things that can happen. I got my YouTube channel of, this one was like $20,000 repair after a tenant moved out. So this is not all sunshine and rainbows, right? But I think at the end of the day, this is much better than investing in any kind of paper assets. Again, you can get my analyzer by just shooting me an email, Lane at Simple Passive Cash Flow. But you can pick up these properties all different ways. I recommend going through a turnkey rental. You can pick them up through a marketing agency or a direct from the turnkey sellers. But here are a bunch of ways that you have to do your own due diligence, educate yourself, and don't listen to brokers, right? Brokers are trying to sell you the deal. Some ways that they kind of be that cool sales guide and trying to just sell you the property. So again, educate yourself on a lot of this stuff. As far as lenders, a lot of us are just working with the same national lenders. Again, this is all referrals. I know a guy. We connect our guys to the same few lenders, and they kind of price it out accordingly. And always buy with a home inspection. These are your third-party sources to verify you're not buying a lemon every time. I do have some videos where I walk through some inspection reports. Very critical time for when you're negotiating your punch list with the seller. Always get insurance to protect yourself against major damages and lawsuits. We go into this in detail. All the stuff is free on my website. I have a lot of articles on this stuff. We use property managers all the time that take care of the day-to-day stuff, and how to interview a property manager. There's 25 questions that you guys can ask. And then, we love the tax benefits that come around with rental real estate. A lot of great videos I have on the website. Protecting yourself, a lot of times just point blank, investing through an LLC is a great way to shield yourself from a lot of liability. And at some point, you're going to have to flex your lazy equity. So look at your portfolio and look where your money is not working for you. So this is kind of the progression that I see most investors taking. Start off with a few rental properties, and as your net worth increases over $500,000 to $1 million, then you start to get into syndication deals and private placements, where you invest with a whole bunch of other investors in stronger deals. You can read this to learn a little bit more about when do you go from single family homes to syndications. And I have another worksheet here you guys can download to calculate your net worth as it grows over time. But as a working professional, you're just waiting for that day to when you're building up these assets, and when these assets can produce more income than you at your day job, and that's when you've cracked it. Again, there's so many different ways you can invest, but at the end of the day, it's just buying assets that produce income that you can do it passively. And I'll end this talk with, I think the normal traditional wealth building dogma is you build up a huge pile of money, the accumulation theory, and then you live off of it. To me, I think it's the complete opposite. You build this pyramid or this block of, this tower of blocks from the bottom up with cash flow. You pretty much do what Ichiro does and just hit a bunch of singles, right? Don't go after home runs. Just get a whole bunch of singles, and that's the way you're going to win this game. And this is my sample $500,000 portfolio. You building the base with a bunch of turnkey rentals. You get up your experience up, and then you layer on top of that some syndications. And every time you add a block, you're adding a more cash flow onto your portfolio. Just to wrap things up here, you guys can check out a lot of my information and free stuff at simplepassivecashflow.com podcast. All this stuff is found free right there. And that is my timer, and I'm out of time. My email is lane@simplepassivecashflow, and looking to help out anybody who's, going to put in the work and listen to the first 12 podcasts. Sure, let's get on the phone. Let me see how I can help you guys out.